Guys, what's up? So today I'm going to be talking about a topic that I've seen for a while, like Zephyrus and Clipoth can beat omnipotence. Like I've seen a video from a certain YouTuber that Zephyrus can beat omnipotence. Well, no, that's not true because there's SCP and because Zephyrus and Clipoth are created. Like you can't have two omnipotence. Anyways, the point is that the reason why I don't think Zephyrus and Clipoth are omnipotent is because there are two of them, and also you can't have two omnipotent beings. You need to have one omnipotent being, and the one that fits that description the most is Swan's proposal. You see, Swan's proposal is the various authors that created the SCP universe. Now, before you say, well, SCP-3812 transcended them, or SCP-5909 killed them, or Zephyrus and Clipoth being above SCP-3812 makes them beyond omnipotent. Well, no, that's not true. Since beyond omnipotence doesn't make sense. If a character is omnipotent, well, that character has no limits. You can't be beyond the concept of no limits, because, well, that would be a no limits fallacy. You see, a character being beyond omnipotent is basically ridiculous, because, well, a character cannot achieve omnipotence. They cannot achieve omnipotence. Only one character can have omnipotence because, well, like the one of all, he's basically the embodiment of the writers within Marvel, and the writer from DC who is omnipotent is, well, the writers themselves, which would also include Swan's proposal. So omnipotent being from these three franchises are the writers themselves, or at least the embodiment of the writers. Also, I've seen on Quora that people actually share some sort of image from a certain guy who works for Marvel on Twitter, saying that the one of all is not only the writers, but also the authors and the readers, which makes it even more powerful. Not being more omnipotent. He's just all the omnipotent, that's all. The reason why I'm making this video is because too much people on YouTube overrate the SCP, and too many people overrate SCP-3812, and people also overrate Zephyrus and Clipoth as well, saying that they can beat omnipotence, which is not true. And making an SCP like this is just kind of ridiculous. Like, I could just make a story where the real creator of SCP-3812, the true forms kills SCP-3812, and just like that, it just died. That's all. And also, I heard that Zephyrus and Clipoth can tie with the creator from Unico in one YouTube video, and even destroy Kami Tenshi and the one of all who are omnipotent, which is not true whatsoever. I'm making this video just to point out that certain SCPs destroying authors is just it's just their fourth wall breaking feat and not anything else. Since Zephyrus and Clipoth being the supreme being of the SCP universe is just not true, since Swan's proposal is still above them. You can't have more than one omnipotence, nor a fictional character cannot become real. Otherwise, it would make this year much worse than 2020. Anyways, and this is just my opinion about why the SCP verse is kind of overrated, since some authors just create 8 SCPs that is just beyond author level. I don't know why they create something like this. I think it's because to put the SCP universe being on top of every fictional universes, which you can't just do that. You can't just create something beyond omnipotent. Nor can you create a character that is that can be real for some reason, unless those characters are the one of all who are the writers, or the writer from DC, or Swan's proposal from the SCP universe. This is the reason why I criticize some SCP fans, killing the authors isn't really that much of an impressive feat, as in one DC comic storyline, Mr. Mxyzptlk actually punched the author of DC, and does that make him beyond omnipotent? Well, no. Why? Because there is another non-omnipotent being who transcends Mr. Mxyzptlk called the Ultimator. And even then, Dream of the Endless is still above the Ultimator, so that who is above Mr. Mxyzptlk, and so Dream himself can't beat Mr. Mxyzptlk. That's just how it works. Seriously, it is really unnecessary to create characters like SCP-3112 or something like that, unless a certain limitation is imposed on them, or adding their true forms. Either their true form is omnipotent or nigh-omnipotent, and that's all. Like, I don't know why some SCP authors created characters like this. Like, I don't even understand what they're doing, really. Like, however, I'm still an SCP fan myself, since I do, I am a fan of Sephiroth and Klipoth, who is basically two of my most favorite SCPs. But even then, I already know that Swan's Proposal can still beat them, because Swan's Proposal is the one that created the Sephiroth and Klipoth. Because the authors of the SCP universe, Swan's Proposal, does in fact created the various SCPs within the SCP universe, which would include like the gods like Cain and Yaldabaoth and the Scarlet King and SCP-682, or these high hyperversal deities. These people sometimes overrate them to autoversal, which is not true. It is consistently stated within the SCP log, I think, is that they are high hyperversal. Nothing says about them being autoversal, for that matter. So, yeah, that's how it works, basically. So, this video is like, I don't know, criticizing some SCP fans. Although I'm an SCP fan myself, just don't blame me for this. I'm just trying to point out some things that I think some SCP fans missed out on, and also the ridiculousness of the SCP universe. Although it is still a pretty OP verse, like it's still one of the most one of the most overpowered verses of all time, like the Cthulhu Mythos, Marvel, and DC. So yeah, that's just how it works. And anyways, guys, hopefully you guys enjoy this. Hopefully you guys leave a like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications. And peace out.